So we'll move on now to your favorite segment.
You know it.
And we call this segment Wise or Lies. And this is where we talk about certain topics and we decide whether this is a wise move or this is a lies move. You know what I'm saying? So, so we'll start it off in social media for Wise Guys.
Yeah, follow Wise Guys on Twitter at WiseGuys_OH. And also on Facebook, Wise Guys. Be sure to follow Wise Guys on Instagram as well. These guys know sports.
These guys know sports.
Yes, sir.
We want to give a shout out to our excellent producer, Marquise, of Creative Control, Creative Q, our dog, who helps us out with every aspect of the show. And we really appreciate it. So, Wise or Lies, first one. James Harden, 60 points, 10 rebounds, 11 assists. First player in history to score 60 in a triple-double. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? This cat is phenomenal. But like you were talking about in the last round, hey man, what about in crunch time when it really matters? Like the playoffs last year, when I watched him deflate like a tire that hit a pothole, Ohio's #1 deal.
Exactly. And that's where it goes for me. And that's where it starts for me, Chris.
So wise or lies?
But the question really is, when it comes to this season, do you think is it wise or lies to say James Harden deserves MVP right now?
Right now?
I mean, you got Russ out there. He's been balling lately. Russell Westbrook been playing outstanding, averaging triple-double.
Incredible.
Giannis, the Greek freak, he's having an outstanding season.
Hey, man, that dude too.
Yeah, he's playing great. Chris Paul, CP3's been playing outstanding this year.
So you're asking me wise or lies?
Yeah, is it wise to say that James Harden deserves NBA MVP?
I'm going to have to give it to him. So I'm going to say wise on that one. I think that he has had the kind of season that would be breakout. Even for someone who's elite, I would say that he's still having a breakout.
Right.
Where I mean, that performance alone makes him stand out in a special way.
Right.
Lots of people are dropping triple doubles. I mean, it's the league of triple doubles now.
Right.
But I mean, to score 60 and still get your triple double, that's phenomenal. I haven't ever seen. Nobody's ever seen anybody do that.
Right.
So give him some on that. And yes, I think that it's wise to say that he's that guy now.
I think it's wise to say he deserves NBA MVP, but honestly, it doesn't matter. And the reason why it doesn't matter is because James Harden basically time and time again plays well in the regular season and he folds in playoff moments. We've seen this movie before.
Yep.
And we seen it last year in the NBA semifinals against San Antonio Spurs. No Kawhi Leonard, no Tony Parker. Game 6 in his house in Houston in the Toyota Center. And James Harden shows up to the arena, shoots 2 of 11 from the floor, 6 fouls, 6 rebounds. I mean, this brother had more turnovers than made field goal attempts. I mean, come on now. And last year, he was a runner-up to Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double. If Russell Westbrook didn't average a triple-double last year, James Harden would have been MVP. And then 2 years ago against Steph Curry, he was a runner-up again in that MVP race. But too many times, I've seen James Harden come up small in playoff moments. He did it with the Oklahoma City Thunder when they were babies. When they went up against Miami Heat and LeBron and D-Wade, when it was him, Kevin Durant, and Russ, he came up small in that NBA Finals. So I've seen James Harden too many times in clutch playoff moments come up small and fold. So I really don't give a damn, honestly, about what he does in the regular season anymore. I'm judging James Harden according to the playoffs.
It's wise or lies?
Yeah, I think it's wise. I'm just making it clear. It doesn't matter for me because I judge James Harden on another standard. He's a great player. Therefore, if you're great, you need to play great in the postseason.
Always.
That's where stars become superstars.
Yeah, it does not matter about the regular season. That's why, Cavs fans who are worried don't, because we're still just trying to get to the qualification for the playoffs.
Exactly.
Speaking of the Cavs, Kevin Love, broken hand this week.
Yeah.
It's a wrap. He's on the shelf for 2 months. So what's up with that? Will the Cavs make it to the playoffs and then to the finals without K Love in there for this 2-month period?
I've said it before. I've told myself and I've made it clear that I've been giving the Cleveland Cavaliers a pass simply because LeBron James has 7 straight finals appearances. And I gave the Cavs the benefit of the doubt. But I've gotten to a point, Chris, where I've realized I don't think this team is going to the NBA Finals. Because I'm looking at a young team in the Boston Celtics who have great young assets in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. We know Kyrie Irving is big time. I'm looking at, these other teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, the Greek Freak. If he can elevate his game, start hitting consistent jump shots, I think he could take the Milwaukee Bucks over the top. So some of these teams in the Eastern Conference, I think they are better equipped and have a better roster to get to the NBA Finals. The Toronto Raptors, with Drake sitting on court side. They having a great year. DeMar DeRozan is having his best season since he's been in the NBA. Only problem with the Toronto Raptors is LeBron James has been their kryptonite. But with this roster that LeBron James has intact with the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm not so sure they're going to be able to beat the Toronto Raptors, the Milwaukee Bucks, or even the Boston Celtics in a 7-game series in the playoffs. I've gave them the benefit of the doubt because of LeBron before, but this team looks bad. And Kevin Love was actually the player that was playing well for the team. He was the player that actually was a one bright spot for the team. You had players that was trying to blame Kevin Love in meetings. Nah, Kevin Love was having a pretty good season overall. But I'm not so sure they're going to get back to the NBA Finals this year.
So you're saying lie?
I think it's a lie. I think it's a lie to say that they getting back to the finals.
Brother, you done lost your mind. Anyway, this is wise to pick the Cavs for the finals because, number one, what you said, 7 in a row, about to make it 8. Trust me, go to the bank on that one. That one's taken to the bank deal. Okay? As far as Kevin Love goes, tough injury.
Yeah.
Okay? And you know, he's been a guy that's been kind of ouchy anyway. He can get little things, little nagging things that'll put you aside. Now, having a hand injury, it is rough. He won't be able to shoot like he normally does, until his hand heals, which they'll take care of.
Yeah.
No surgery for Kevin.
Right.
Which is a good thing. They just set it back and cast him up, and he'll be, wearing a suit for a couple months. No big deal. The Cavs have enough other role players to make it to the playoffs in a good position, 3rd, 4th. It doesn't matter with them. They're like the Pittsburgh Penguins in hockey. They're like the New England Patriots in football.
The Cleveland Cavaliers?
Yes, they are the same. All they need to do is get to the playoffs, and then everything changes. You shaking your head like
I would say that in years. I would say that in years previous, Chris.
Hold up. Because they went out and they got Dwayne Wade, the ultimate role player at his age now.
Well, I agree with you there.
Okay, well then what are you talking about?
I'm talking about the fact that this team has too many different agendas. You look at Isaiah Thomas. He's playing for a new contract. He's coming back from the hip injury. He hasn't been the same.
Look.
You look at Tyronn Lue. He's coaching for his job. LeBron James, his pending free agency. He's got that on his mind.
Right.
Dan Gilbert. He's holding that 2018 pick. He don't know if he want to trade that pick to be able to get an asset for them to be able to compete in the Eastern Conference and get back to the NBA Finals.
Okay,
it seems like this team got too many different agendas.
We've heard about your lies. I'm telling you why I think it's wise. And that's because when it comes down to it, it's a basketball team. These are basketball players. They want to play their best, and they will. They'll figure things out because they always do. LeBron's always got a mismatch of guys playing with him. Every year he's got to figure out how to integrate this guy, how to integrate this guy, and he always does it. So, as far as I'm concerned, that's why.
One thing I want to say, last thing I want to say about Tristan Thompson, he has to get his stuff together. Tristan Thompson has not been the same player since he came back from his injury. I think it's the Kardashian effect. I don't know what it is about these brothers, but when they beat a Kardashian, they don't seem to play at the same level they played at one time before. So let's move on. Drew Brees turned 39 early this month, and he is not under contract next season for the New Orleans Saints. So is it wise or lies to say the Saints should invest in Drew Brees long term? Is that wise or lies to say?
Well, it's if you're going to say long term and you consider long term 5 years and out, that's what I consider long term. No, because as good as he is, he's an old man.
Yeah.
Okay, we're talking 5 years from now. He's going to be 44 years old.
Yeah.
That's almost my age, and I know I'm an old man.
Right.
Okay. So I couldn't give him the long term deal. Does that mean that he's going to move on? I do believe so. I do believe that Drew will not finish his career. Now, when he goes to the Hall of Fame, and he will go to the Hall of Fame, he will be wearing the New Orleans hat.
Right.
But he's going to finish his career out somewhere else, and he could go anywhere. And that changes the game for them. Say just to Denver. That changes the game. Now, he likes playing indoors, and he likes playing in warm.
And it don't.
But I'm going to tell you what. Send him anywhere, and he becomes an instant contender.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think he will finish his career with the New Orleans Saints, but I agree with you on the same token. I don't think that Drew Brees, if you're the New Orleans Saints, you should sign him long term. I think you should give him a 1-year deal, prove-it deal to see what you do next year, because there were times this year when I was watching New Orleans Saints games, Chris, and Drew Brees missed some throws. I was kind of like, hey, if that was a younger Drew Brees, he would have hit that throw right on the money, and I was like, hey, I'm not so sure. And then even as far as the offense goes, this year they had a great rushing attack with Alvin Kamara and Mark Ingram. They carried the Saints to the playoffs. Drew Brees did a great job, and he managed the game for the New Orleans Saints. But there were times this year, dare I say, that Drew Brees seemed like a game manager, but he's still great.
Well, see, that's the thing about when you get a little older. It for quarterbacks, it's weird. They don't just fall off incrementally, a little bit here and a little bit there. Although that's what he did. He had a little bit of a fall off from the season that he usually has. And plus, he's in a division with nothing but really good quarterbacks.
Right.
But that being said, he missed some throws that we're used to seeing him make. So yeah, that's why I'm saying I think that he's probably going to end his career somewhere else. So that's my take on that.
Dez Bryant is expected to get paid $14 million for the Cowboys next season, and he has 2 years left on his deal. So is it wise or lies to say the Cowboys should trade Dez Bryant? Is that wise or is that a lie?
Well, I tell you what, Dez Bryant doesn't play like Dez Bryant's supposed to be playing. Period. That's how it comes down. $14 million. He's not a number one receiver. He's an excellent number two. Okay, he's an excellent top flight number two, but he's not that number one guy anymore.
Right.
And if you're the Cowboys and you've got him as a chip, you've got to go ahead and play that chip. Put that chip down.
Right.
And move on and try to get to that next level. Because you need a next level wide receiver to go with Ezekiel Elliott. Yeah. And to go with Dak Prescott. You need Dez Bryant to be a number one, and he is not.
He is not.
So I would say that's wise to move on from Dez.
I think it's wise to move on from Dez Bryant as well, getting paid $14 million a year. His production just is not there.
I can't be agreeing with me about that.
I'm agreeing with you here, though, man. We're on the same page here, partner. I don't think Dez Bryant deserves $14 million a year. He's not playing well. No. He hasn't been the same receiver since 2013. Because at one point, I used to say Dez Bryant was a top 5 receiver. I can name 5 receivers right now that's better than Dez Bryant. Odell Beckham, Antonio Brown, AJ Green, Julio Jones, and DeAndre Hopkins. All 5 of those receivers are better than Dez Bryant. He's not the same player. There's more, but those are just guys off the top of my head. Yeah. I don't think he's a top 5 receiver anymore. Therefore, he shouldn't get paid like a top 5 receiver. And it's just a shame because this dude was a legit player and a great receiver at one point in his career. But over the last couple of years, his career has been in a downfall. But I still think he can produce, but it can't be as a number 1 receiver on the team.
There it is.
There it is right there. NBA